I'm Josh, I'm 24, finishing up my degree. A few months ago, my apartment situation blew up, lease got pulled early because the building was being sold. No warning. Suddenly I was out. I didn't have time or savings to find something new on short notice, and that's when my friend Noah, not his real name, offered me a place. Said I could crash in their spare room for a few weeks while I sorted it out. I'd known Noah since freshman year. One of those instantly easy friendships, video games, dumb group projects, late-night food runs. His family home was about 20 minutes from campus, quiet neighborhood, two-story place with creaky floors and a big backyard. I'd been over before a bunch of times. It felt familiar. His mom, Claire, also lived there. She was in her mid-40s, maybe 45, and she had this presence. You know? That kind of woman who doesn't try to fill a room but still somehow does. Always dressed in understated, tailored clothes, always with that unreadable expression. You'd think she was cold if you didn't catch the way she'd glance at Noah when he was talking, like she was memorizing his face. The first few days were normal. I'd nod good morning, she'd ask how school was going. Everything polite. Simple. She worked remotely, finance stuff, I think, and kept to herself. I was in and out, doing my internship and classes, trying not to feel like an intruder. The guest room had a view of the garden. The walls were pale blue. But something started shifting, and not in any obvious way. She'd pause a second longer when we passed in the hall. Sometimes we'd both end up in the kitchen late at night, lights dim, her in a soft sweater and loose pants, sipping herbal tea. She'd ask me small things, how the internship was going, what I thought about the books on the hallway shelf. One night, she reached past me to grab a mug, and her hand grazed my arm. Light, brief, but not nothing. I kept telling myself I was imagining it. Because what else could I tell myself? Then there was this evening, a rainy Thursday. Noah had a night class, said he'd be out late. I'd come home early, beat the storm, and was just about to heat some leftovers when she came into the kitchen barefoot, hair still damp like she'd just showered, wearing this oversized button-down, crisp, white, falling to mid-thigh. "Didn't expect you back so soon," she said, and I could barely find words. We ate together, silent at first, listening to the rain tap against the windows. She poured a glass of red wine. Asked if I wanted one too. I hesitated, then said yes. The conversation drifted. She asked if I missed home. If I'd ever fallen out of love with something I thought I was meant to do. Her tone was soft, but it wasn't casual. It was searching. She wasn't looking for my resume. She wanted to know me. And I started to want to be known. That night didn't end with anything bold. Just her hand lingering on my wrist when she took my glass. Just her eyes holding mine too long before saying goodnight. But the next. I didn't know what this was. I didn't want to call it anything. But I knew I'd crossed an invisible line, and I didn't want to step back. The next few days, I tried to pull back. I stuck to my room more, took my laptop to cafes, told myself it was just to focus on work. But I wasn't being honest, not with myself, not really. It wasn't about focus. It was about trying not to feel what I was feeling. About not noticing how I'd memorized the sound of her voice in the morning or how often I caught myself wondering if she was home. The truth was, I had no idea what was happening between us. There hadn't been anything, no kiss, no confession. But the air around her felt heavy now, like static before a storm. I'd go downstairs to make coffee and she'd already be there, back to me, humming something soft while stirring honey into her tea. I'd freeze, every time. And still I'd go down. Every time. One night, Noah had a group study thing and wouldn't be home until late. I'd been in my room reading when there was a soft knock at the door. I didn't expect her. She stood there in leggings and a cardigan, holding a small basket. I just pulled these out of the dryer, she said, lifting a few neatly folded towels. Figured you might need extras. She stepped in before I could answer, placed them on the edge of the bed, then paused. Her eyes moved around the room, the desk with my cluttered notebooks, the cheap reading lamp, the jacket slung over the chair. You've made it yours, she said quietly. Feels different now. I said something like, just trying not to get in the way. But she didn't answer. She was looking at a photo on my nightstand, me and my sister at some beach, wind in our hair. Then she looked at me. Do you miss her? She asked. My sister? Yeah. All the time. That softened something in her. She sat on the edge of the bed like it was natural. Not invited, not forced. Just, right. Her hands rested in her lap, and she tilted her head slightly, looking at me like she was searching for something. Can I ask you something? She said after a long moment. Sure. Do you feel lonely? I didn't answer right away. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to. I mean, she continued, even with people around, even when things are technically fine, do you ever just feel, not seen? I sat down too, not close but not far. Yeah, I said. More than I'd like to admit. She nodded. Like she'd already known that. We stayed like that, sitting side by side on the edge of the bed, neither of us quite looking at the other. The silence was gentle but charged. I could feel the warmth of her arm even without touching. My heart was pounding, but I wasn't scared, not exactly. I was aware of everything. The dim light. The softness in her voice. The fact that this moment, this exact one, felt like it had been waiting to happen. Then she turned toward me, just slightly. Her fingers brushed mine. I didn't pull away. She didn't say anything else. Just slowly threaded her fingers between mine like she was waiting to see if I'd let her. I did. We sat there like that for what felt like forever, two people not daring to move, like the smallest shift would break whatever spell we'd fallen under. And then, in the quiet, her head lowered slightly toward mine. Her forehead touched my temple. Still no kiss. Still no words. But it felt louder than either. I should go, she whispered, even though we were already here. Even though she wasn't really going anywhere. She pulled her hand back slowly. Good night, Josh. Good night, I managed, though my voice didn't sound like mine. She left the room. The door clicked softly behind her. And I sat there for a long time, staring at the place where her hand had been. After that night, nothing was the same. And yet, nothing had technically changed. We didn't talk about what happened. There was no morning after conversation, no awkward avoidance. Just the usual rhythms, coffee, small talk, Noah cracking jokes about school, Claire keeping her tone light. But every glance between us had weight now. Every brush of her hand felt remembered. I started inventing reasons to be downstairs. Water refills, a snack I didn't really want, pretending to look for a charger I already had. She was always there, folding laundry, typing quietly at the kitchen table, watering the plants near the back door. We didn't touch again. Not for a while. Until one Saturday night, when everything tipped. Noah had gone out to see a movie with friends. I was home, not planning to do anything. I had music playing low in my headphones when there was another knock at the door. Her again. This time, she didn't have towels. Hey, she said, standing in the hallway, barefoot in soft jeans and a faded navy tee. I can't sleep. Thought I'd make some tea. I pulled off my headphones. You want me to join you? A pause. Yeah. In the kitchen, everything felt dim and quiet. She moved slowly, filling the kettle, reaching for 2 mugs from the cabinet. I leaned against the counter, not saying much. I didn't know what this was supposed to be. She handed me a cup and sat at the table. I followed. "I used to love nights like this," she said after a few sips. "House quiet. Everyone asleep. Just space." I nodded. "There's something peaceful about it." She looked over the rim of her cup, eyes soft. "I like talking to you." I didn't know what to say to that. So I just told the truth. "Me too." Silence again, but it wasn't empty. It was like something was building between us that neither of us wanted to name, not out loud. She set her mug down and stood. I thought maybe she was leaving, but instead, she walked toward me. Stopped just beside my chair. I looked up. And she looked down at me, not searching for permission, but waiting. Then, slowly, she leaned down and kissed me. It wasn't rushed or bold. It was quiet. Measured. Her hand cupped the side of my face, and mine instinctively reached for her wrist. When she pulled back, we were both breathing differently. I didn't speak. Neither did she. She just turned and walked out of the room. That kiss, it tore a hole in my life. Because once something like that happens, you can't go back to how things were. Even if you pretend. Even if you try. I didn't sleep that night. The next few days were a blur of pretending. Noah asked me about a class. I nodded, gave half answers. Claire passed me in the hallway, and our eyes didn't meet, not really. But the air between us was charged now, always humming, always full. Then came the night we stopped pretending. It was midweek. Noah had gone to his dad's for the night, divorce thing. Said he'd be back late the next day. I stayed in, watched something dumb on my laptop. Around 10, there was another knock. I knew who it was before I opened the door. She stood there, hair loose, wearing a long cardigan over a tank top and soft shorts. "Can I come in?" she asked, like she didn't already know the answer. I stepped aside. We didn't say much. She walked into the room like she'd been here before, like this wasn't a guest room but something else now, a pause in time. She sat on the bed. I sat beside her. She reached for my hand again, laced our fingers together. "I've been thinking about this too much," she said. "And not enough." I looked at her. Same. And that night, we stopped hesitating. I won't describe what happened. Not in detail. That's not what this post is for. But it was slow, careful, and somehow both terrifying and inevitable. After, we lay side by side, barely speaking. Her hand rested on my chest. Mine on her back. She looked at me once, not smiling, not sad. Just, full of something I couldn't name. "This can't be real," she whispered. "It is," I whispered back. And I meant it. After that night, it became a rhythm. Not a schedule exactly, we never planned anything out loud. But there were signals. Small ones. A lingering glance across the hallway. A text from her pretending to ask about laundry or leftovers. A soft knock at my door just after midnight. And I'd open it. Always. The world outside stayed the same, internships, assignments, group chats with classmates. But inside that house, something else was happening. Something careful and fragile, but real. I learned the sound of her footsteps. The creak in the floorboards outside my room. The way her breath hitched sometimes when I touched her arm. We never talked about what it was. We didn't dare. But when we were alone, she was different. Softer. Like some quiet part of her came alive again. She'd sit beside me on the bed, knees pulled up, tracing little circles on my leg while we talked about nothing. She'd hum when she cooked. Once, while making coffee, she slipped her hand into mine for just a second. No one else saw. That was the point. She made me feel seen. Not like a kid, not like Noah's friend, but like me. And I think I made her feel that too, like a woman again, not just a mother, not just the background of someone else's story. We built this small world together. Our own little bubble tucked between hallway shadows and quiet Sunday mornings. She kept a folded blanket on the couch for me. I started leaving a second toothbrush in the bathroom drawer. Tiny things. But they meant something. Noah didn't suspect a thing. Or if he did, he never said. I don't know how we pulled it off. How we managed to slip past his attention. Maybe it was because he trusted me. Or maybe because Claire had spent years mastering the art of holding secrets. But it wasn't easy. There were moments it nearly cracked. Like the day I found one of her earrings on the floor of my room. A small silver stud. I stared at it for minutes before carefully hiding it in my desk drawer, heart pounding. Or the time we brushed hands at the kitchen sink while Noah was right there pouring cereal. She didn't flinch. But I did. Because I was starting to feel it, the weight of it all. We'd meet in secret, stay up late with our hands locked together, and then wake the next morning pretending we were just two people passing each other on the stairs. And yet, I couldn't stop. I didn't want to. Every night I waited to see if she'd knock again. Every time my phone buzzed, I hoped it was her. I'd lie in bed after she left, staring at the ceiling, my chest aching with something I couldn't name. It wasn't just desire. It wasn't even just connection. It was her. One night, we were lying together, her head on my chest, soft music playing from my laptop. She whispered something I'll never forget. "You make me feel like I still have time." I asked her, time for what? She didn't answer. But I knew. She meant time to feel. Time to be wanted. Time to be someone beyond the roles the world had pressed on her for decades. She started calling me Josh differently. Like it held more weight now. Like my name wasn't just a label but something that tethered her to the present. And me? I started catching myself daydreaming. Not about the future, not exactly. But about Sunday breakfasts, or reading side by side on the couch, or walking together down streets where no one knew us. I was falling. I knew it. And the worst part? It felt good. Even though the edge was coming. Even though something inside me whispered that this couldn't last, that no secret stays hidden forever. Still, I didn't stop. Because when we were together, everything felt more real than anything outside that door. The shift was subtle at first. She still came by late at night, still lingered near me in the kitchen, still looked at me the same way when no one else was watching, but something behind her eyes had changed. Like she was counting down to something I couldn't see. One morning, I walked into the living room to find her already there, curled up on the couch with a book she wasn't reading. She looked up when she saw me, tried to smile. It didn't quite land. We sat in silence for a while, side by side. Then she said, "Do you ever wish things had a pause button?" I didn't answer. I think she already knew what I would have said. That night, she didn't knock. The next day, either. By the third day, I stopped pretending I wasn't waiting for her. I laid in bed, wide awake, ears straining for the creak of the hallway floor. Nothing. On the fourth night, I found her in the kitchen alone, hands wrapped around a mug of tea gone cold. She didn't look surprised to see me. Didn't even look up. I stood there for a moment before I finally said, "Claire?" She blinked once. Then again. Then quietly, she said, "I don't think I can keep doing this." It felt like the floor gave out beneath me. I pulled out a chair and sat across from her, the air between us tight, heavy. My heart was pounding and I hated how quiet she was. Not cold, just distant. Like she was already gone. Because of Noah? I asked. I already knew the answer, but I needed to hear it. She nodded. And me. And you. And what this will turn into if we let it. I wanted to argue, but I didn't have anything to fight with. She was right. We'd gotten good at pretending we weren't living in borrowed time. She sighed and looked up at me finally, and her voice softened. Josh, you've made this house feel alive again. You've made me feel alive. But that doesn't make it right. I swallowed. I don't want to lose you. Her eyes flicked down to the table. I know. Silence again. Except this time, it wasn't full, it was hollow. I didn't plan this, she said, almost to herself. I didn't mean for it to happen. I know, I said. Me either. She reached across the table and placed her hand over mine. This has to end before it becomes something we can't carry. I closed my eyes. Her hand stayed there for a while, warm, unmoving, then slowly pulled away. That night, she didn't knock. That week, I didn't see her at all. If she passed me in the hallway, it was quick, eyes forward. Noah was still clueless. We even finished a group project together, the three of us, like nothing was wrong. But I could feel the absence in every room of that house. Eventually, I made the decision. I told Noah I'd found a new place closer to my internship. He offered to help me move, and I lied, said it wasn't much, that I could manage on my own. My last night there, I didn't expect to see her. I thought maybe that was it, clean break, quiet ending. But when I came back from loading my car, she was in the hallway. Arms crossed. Back against the wall. We didn't speak at first. Then she said, I was afraid you'd leave without saying goodbye. I stepped closer. I almost did. She nodded. Her eyes looked tired. But there was still something behind them. Something that hadn't quite let go. I don't know what this was, she whispered. But it mattered to me. It mattered to me too. She reached out, touched my arm, then let it fall. Take care of yourself, Josh. You too. I opened the door. Stepped outside. The night air hit me hard. The door clicked shut behind me, not loudly. Just enough to know something had ended. Leaving that house felt like stepping out of a dream I hadn't meant to have. I moved into a small one-bedroom closer to the city. It wasn't much, loud pipes, stained carpet, a window that barely opened, but it was mine. And I told myself that meant something. I focused on school. The internship. Tried to rebuild the version of me that existed before Claire. But it wasn't that simple. For weeks, I caught myself listening for a sound that wasn't there. Checking my phone for a message that would never come. I'd walk past women in bookstores or cafes who had her posture, her perfume, her quiet way of looking at the world, and I'd flinch, like my body still hadn't gotten the memo that she was gone. We didn't talk. No texts. No emails. Not even a misplaced birthday greeting or accidental, hope you're well. She disappeared from my life completely. And I let her. Noah and I still talked sometimes, texts, memes, occasional classwork overlap. He never asked why I left so suddenly. Maybe he didn't want to know. Maybe he knew more than he let on. But we didn't talk about his mom. Ever. She became a ghost in our conversations, always just outside the frame. I dated a little. Met a girl in one of my marketing classes. Smart, sharp. We went for coffee, saw a movie, even spent a weekend at the lake with friends. She kissed me under a string of patio lights, and I kissed her back. But something in me stayed flat. Not cold exactly, just removed. Because there was still a room in my mind that belonged to Claire. And no matter how long I stayed away, I never turned off the light. A year passed. I finished my internship, picked up part-time work, kept my head down. Told myself I'd grown. That it was just something that happened. That people come into your life and leave all the time. That it didn't mean anything more than what it was. But I didn't believe it. Because there were nights, quiet ones, soft rain against the window, some black and white movie flickering in the background, when I felt her all over again. The sound of her voice. The weight of her hand. The warmth of that space we made and lost. And I missed her. Not just the way she looked, or the thrill of what we were hiding. I missed the stillness. I missed the honesty we had in those stolen hours. Then, one Saturday afternoon, I was walking through the downtown farmers market, just killing time, sipping cheap iced coffee, when I heard someone say my name. Josh? I turned. And there she was. Claire. She looked different. But not in a bad way. Calmer, maybe. Lighter. Her hair was shorter. She wore a loose cream sweater and jeans, no makeup, no rush in her face. Just, there. We stared at each other for a second too long. I didn't think I'd ever see you again, I said. She smiled, small, a little unsure. I didn't either. We stepped aside, away from the crowd, under the awning of a closed cafe. How've you been? She asked. I shrugged. Fine. Busy. You? She hesitated. Getting there. We both looked down. Then back up. And in that moment, everything I'd buried came rushing back. Not as pain. Just as truth. You look good, she said. So do you. Another pause. She shifted her bag on her shoulder. I'm not married anymore. My throat tightened. Yeah? She nodded. Not because of you. Just, things needed to end. I didn't ask questions. I didn't need to. She looked at me again, really looked. I wasn't sure if I should say hi. I'm glad you did. Her lips parted like she wanted to say something else, something that might break the moment or give it too much weight. But then she just nodded, took a breath, and said quietly. I think about those days sometimes. Me too. We stood there, two people caught between who we were and who we became. I should go, she said eventually. Yeah. She stepped away, turned once more, then smiled. This time it reached her eyes. Take care of yourself, Josh. You too, Claire. And just like that, she disappeared into the crowd. I didn't move for a long time after she walked away. The market sounds blurred, kids yelling about kettle corn, a dog barking near the corner, someone strumming a guitar under a tree, but it all felt distant, like I was underwater. I just stood there, holding a paper cup of coffee gone cold, watching the space where she'd been. I should have felt relieved. Or shaken. Or something. But mostly, I felt quiet. Like I'd just been handed back a version of myself I didn't know I'd lost. That night, I didn't go out. I sat in my apartment with the lights low, that old playlist we used to listen to playing through my laptop. There was a note of finality in it, but not the kind that stings. More like the gentle closing of a door that had been left open too long. I thought about her words. I'm not married anymore. And the way she'd said, I think about those days sometimes, like she was testing the water, like maybe some part of her still wondered what it all meant. Me? I didn't have an answer. All I knew was that the ache I'd carried, that quiet, dull hum in the back of everything I did, had come back the moment I saw her face. Not painfully. Just, honestly. She looked softer. Less guarded. But her eyes, those hadn't changed. And when she looked at me, I knew she still remembered all of it. The quiet afternoons. The near whispers in the dark. The space we made in silence. We never told anyone. Not a single soul. I don't think we ever will. Some things are meant to stay between the people who live them. And even now, I don't know what we were. Not exactly. I wouldn't call it an affair. That word feels too sharp, too heavy, like something from a scandalous movie. This wasn't like that. It was two people who found something, and maybe needed something, in each other at a time when neither of us was really looking. And yeah, it couldn't last. We knew that. But that doesn't mean it wasn't real. It was. In its own small, dangerous, beautiful way. Sometimes I wonder if I'll see her again. Randomly. Quietly. Maybe she'll be standing in line behind me at a bookstore. Maybe I'll catch her reflection in a window on a street I didn't mean to walk down. Maybe she'll text me something simple like, "Hey. Just checking in." Or maybe this was it. A beginning that never had a middle. A middle that never needed an end. I don't know. What I do know is that I'm not the same person I was before I rang that doorbell. And I don't think she is either. We stepped outside of our lives for a moment and found something we weren't supposed to. And maybe that's enough. Or maybe it's not. I don't know if it's worth starting something again. But when I saw her eyes, everything came back. What would you do in my place?